So, Stephen D here on Pure 24/7 Radio, and we are joined yet again by our good friends from Rural Mission. Hello, Bob Goody.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be joined by you. And we are also joined by Steffi Scott again.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
It's great to have you on. So, today's conversation, where are we going today, Bob?
So last week we explored what it means to be connected, to build networks. And when I was talking to the team, we thought, oh, what should we look at next? And when you build connection, it's all about how hospitable you are. So I wondered whether today we might explore what does it mean to be hospitable to the people around us?
That sounds good. As soon as you use the word hospitability, the first thing that comes to my mind is I can't speak. But the second thing is cup of tea. If you want to be hospitable, a cup of tea is probably the first thing that comes to my mind. Am I the only one here?
No, I'd agree. Cup of tea, probably a good cup of coffee would be up my list. And
Some
obviously
biscuits.
yeah,
Yeah.
the the first time we met Stephen to start doing these interviews, I came over to the studios and you were hospitable with a bacon sandwich.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, tea's good, bacon butty, even better. That's a way to be hospitable. So, I mean, I'm guessing when it comes to helping a community be more hospitable, the first thing that comes to people's mind is food. How might they serve some food, bring people in? And that's probably the first thing that most people are going to think of. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think a few weeks ago now, like we're on week 9 of our conversation, Stephen. I think I shared about a church in Yelvertoft that decided to look at what do they love doing rather than how could they be more missional or engaging with their community more. And they decided they love eating cake and baking cakes. And so the way that they started to engage their community was to be hospitable by baking cakes and inviting people in for a piece of cake. So I think food is definitely a winner. It's they say it's the way to a man's heart, and as a large gentleman myself, I would agree. Food is a real win if you want to get to know me and make me feel like I'm welcomed and part of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing you would agree there, Steffi, that food being a big part of being hospitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's such a big part in all of our lives, isn't it? That we need food to survive, and it feels deeply personal. There's something about sharing food with each other, looking across the table from each other. Usually, that's a fairly intimate environment compared to a church service or, welcoming you into a some kind of more formal corporate building. Usually means you're going to be in my house or I'm going to be in your house or, in some more personal setting. So it's really a special moment in some way, I think, getting around the table and eating together.
Yeah, so I mean that's the first thing that comes to my mind when you mention the word hospitality. Can't say the word hospitality. First thing that comes to my mind is things like that. So, I mean, if you were to try and help a church be more hospitable, what might be some of the ways, one of the most common ways they might do that?
I think it's important to remind them that how did Jesus get to know people?
Mm.
Well, pretty much every time he goes to meet someone, it's like, Zacchaeus, come down from that tree. I'm coming to your house for tea. I'm not going to sing the song because nobody wants to hear that. But so often Jesus was just out there having a drink, having a piece of cake, having some bread with people, even just before his ultimate death and resurrection. What's he do? Well, he gathers his mates round and they sit at a table and he passes some bread round. They have some wine. And then after his resurrection, he's stood on the beach cooking fish. Like, come on, guys, the fish is ready. Come and have food. Like it's helping people go. We don't need to be holier than thou. We don't need to do these big projects and programs. We just need to be able to sit and have a drink with someone. And I don't even think it needs to be in your church. Like, what's it look like to invite your neighbor round for a cup of coffee once in a while? The weather outside today is lovely. I can see it's going to be a scorcher. Like, what would it look like for me to sit out in the garden and chat over the fence with the neighbour. Like there are ways and means. It's just helping to simplify. You don't need the bells and whistles. You just need simplicity sometimes.
Hmm. I'm curious. In when we talk about rural settings, I'm in my mind's eye, people are more hospitable in rural areas. Is that a bit of a stereotype? Is it actually the case that people are more hospitable?
Steffi, you live in a village. You tell us. Are you more hospitable than I am?
I I think it's different. It's yes and no, maybe. I think it's probably just road by road, person by person specific. You know, on my street here, I've got some neighbours who I've been into the house. They've invited me over for barbecues. I've invited them over to my house. Other neighbours, I'll be honest, I've never even spoken a word to. Not out of like lack of trying or being friendly, but just some people keep themselves to themselves, and that's okay. And I think, yeah, I'm sure I don't know if you've spoken like this before, but there is a quite a vast inequality divide in every area there is, but it's hidden a lot more in rural areas potentially, where one person living in a house right next door to you could be really financially well off, relationally well off, and not be necessarily struggling, feeling any kind of hardship. In the house right next door, which looks exactly the same, people could be facing a lot of hardship. And actually, I think that sometimes creates divides and stops people from building community together. So I think in some areas where you've maybe got a big, there's a lot of people all kind of experiencing the same kind of quality of life or level of hardship, there's something to unite around there and it's obvious. So I think maybe it is a stereotype is the short answer of what you asked there. Yeah.
And I think you're right that we do play on stereotypes a lot, and it just makes it easier for people to compute. So a few years ago, I had a friend that moved to the States, and he moved into this quite idyllic looking street, nice house. They moved in with a dog and two kids, and it was almost like the American dream. And he'd watched too many films, I'll be honest, because about 2 weeks into him living there, he was like, none of the neighbours have been round with an apple pie or a potato salad or a dish for us. And it's like, I don't think that really happens. I don't know of anywhere where your neighbours will automatically turn up at your door the day you move in and say, "Oh, can we help you unpack? Or why don't you come for a soiree this evening just to settle in and meet the neighbours?" But I think there is something to learn from it, though. And I wonder why we don't do some of that at times. When someone moves in, what would it look like to go and welcome them? I know of a church in a rural community that whenever someone moves in, they take a gift basket round. Whenever someone new moves to the village, they take a gift basket, and it's got like leaflets for local amusements and entertainment. It's got the opening times for the post office that's 15 miles away, where the local shop is. It's got the church newsletter in there. It's got some food. It's got some drink. And it probably costs the church 7 or 8 quid a basket. But what a beautiful way to be hospitable to people you've never even met before. What could that look like for us?
It's interesting. So, I mean, a big part of hospitality, oh, man, I can't say the word hospitality, a big part of it seems to
It's
be,
not like you're on the radio, Stephen. It's fine. You don't need to use your words. It's all good.
yeah, it's all right. Big jurisdiction and all that isn't really important. Hospitality. Okay. A big part of hospitality from what we're discussing so far seems to be who's nearest to you. Neighbors is a common one here. And these are people who you could be hospitable to. And so neighbors does seem to be a big part of this. And what's interesting in rural areas is I think something of why we get that stereotype is there's fewer neighbors around you. But actually some of the same problems in urban areas, especially in the modern day, is we might not connect with those neighbors. So why not break that and actually go and chat with who's next door, who's your neighbor, and maybe you can begin being more hospitable.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I guess the question I like to ask myself is like, why is hospitality such an effective tool for churches to use. And it's not just a tool. I don't think I want to. I don't want to talk about it as actually as a tool. I think it's good to build genuine relationships with people. Is the heart of what we want to do. So don't just use it as a tool to build numbers in your church. But I think why it's so helpful to use hospitality is that it's an easy entry point to invite people into your community. Because, again, as we said before, everybody needs to eat food and everybody has eaten food. So it's people know what to expect. They might feel more comfortable in that environment, having lunch with you or a picnic or coming for dinner or going for a walk or whatever that looks like, because it's an environment they're more used to. And I think so many of us who spend time in church settings, we've got really familiar with that environment. To us, we walk into church on Sundays and it's normal. We know where to go. We know what to say, when to stand up, sit down, when we're allowed to go to the toilet, get a cup of tea, all of those things. We understand all that. But for someone who maybe has never been to church or hasn't been to church in a long time, that environment's kind of scary. And I've been trying to ponder recently, like, what might that be for me? And I had this experience. I was with a friend, and they're not a Christian friend, and they sometimes they bet on sports and on horse racing. And I was with them and they wanted to pop into a betting shop to place a bet on a horse. And I've never been into a betting shop before. And this was such a new, unique experience for me. And if I didn't have the friend there kind of talking me through like what was going on and what he was doing, I would not have had a clue of where am I supposed to go? Who am I supposed to talk to? How would I even put a bet on a horse if I wanted to? And it struck me like that is in some way what people feel like who step into our church for the first time. And we expect them to understand and know what's going on and to feel comfortable and be like, enjoy themselves. And I was in this betting shop and I did not enjoy myself. I felt so out of place because it was so alien to me. So I think that's where hospitality is really good, because actually we've all sat at a table before. We've all eaten before. So it's a really amazingly simple thing that we can do.
Yeah, no, I had a similar thing recently where had someone around being hospitable and letting them eat. And the instinct is to let them eat first, right? But then they're kind of on the spot. How do they serve up food? Do they need to pause to pray before the meal? All those sorts of things. So actually walking alongside them, okay, and just sort of not letting them go first as such, but kind of doing it simultaneously is actually being more hospitable. So as you say, with that person who was with you in the shop where you were a bit uncomfortable, actually having someone walk alongside you, and that's what being hospitable means. It's basically walking alongside someone in a setting which is new to them. I guess essentially that's what hospitality all boils down to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, some friends of ours, Pete and Kath Atkins, he was a doctor in his day job, and they felt a real call to go and build community in the village. And so they moved house, they moved into a little village, and rather than going, let's establish a church and do some church planting, they started to make small missional communities. They call them boats. And they've got a harbour where they can come and be refreshed and restocked. But part of the way that they do life is that they open their house on a Friday night and have cheese and wine. And so it was never meant to be a church thing. It was just, how do we do life in our community, and how do we as Christians be able to share with people? And so they started to invite neighbors and friends and have conversations, and people would come for cheese and wine. They do it every Friday night. And then one of the people that was coming suddenly said, could we explore a little bit about your faith? Like, I've never really understood the Bible. And so they started to do an alpha course at this cheese and wine night. And people went through it and started to explore faith for themselves. And then it got to the end of it, and they said, "Oh, maybe we could continue to look at something and read together." And so they started to read a book together and started to unpack some of the Bible together. And then, not that long ago, they've just started another Alpha course, not run by Kath and Pete, but actually people that are just exploring faith for themselves said, "Oh, well, I want my friends to be able to do this." And so they're now doing the Alpha course with their friends. And it just sparked off because they said, let's just do cheese and wine and let's do life with people. I think it's important that no matter what our sector, Christian or not, it's we're in this journey together. We're doing life together. So how can we love and cherish one another in the midst of that? I think is really important. And actually, it's by opening the door and making space for people that transformation starts to come and people feel loved and appreciated. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. People want to be known. They want to feel valued and appreciated and feel they have a place. And what better place than where we've said around the table? Because again, as a Christian, Jesus calls us round the table that he sat at, and I'd love more people to be around that table with me.
Yeah.
And I think also maybe you haven't got the space in your house to host people for a meal, and food is a big part of life and it's great, but showing hospitality doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a meal. It could just be how you're building community in whatever way that looks like for you. So are you and some friends into knitting? Start a knitting club. Do you like going for walks in the wood? Invite people to join you for those walks in the wood. It's just about being a friend and inviting people into maybe what you enjoy, and to just start building and creating relationships in something you enjoy doing. If you don't actually enjoy hosting people for food because you're not a great cook or you don't like your house or whatever it is, don't do that. But do the thing you enjoy doing and invite people to experience that with you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a thing that you're already doing as well. So, like my wife, I know that shortly she'll be taking our son Ruben to school, and he loves being able to play with his friends at the gate before they go in. And so rather than my wife going, oh no, I just want to deal with this, it's a task I've got to do, she's been forming relationships for the last few months, talking to the other parents. She's got them on WhatsApp, they're messaging her, they're chatting together, they go to the park after school. And it's like, I've got to do these things anyway, but I'm actually going into it with a posture of how do I serve those people around me? How do I get to know the other parents? How do I spark conversation? Because I'll be honest, those mornings when I drop Ruben off, I'm not always a big conversationalist, and there's just a whole gaggle of parents stood round a circle with kids in the middle, almost gladiator-esque, I'll be honest. But they're all on their phones or little hushed conversations. It's not a place of hospitality, of welcome, but it could be. So maybe there are spaces that we are already in that we just need to change our posture to a posture of, I love you, how can I get to know you?
And I think also being Christians, a calling for us as well is to look for those who are on the margins, or the people who are being overlooked. So you might be in one of those groups at the school gates where you're talking to all the other parents, and you might be in, but there might be that one mum or dad or guardian who's there who is stood on their own. And actually to step away from your group and go and invite them to join you or spend time with them, that goes a really long way. People then feel seen, feel noticed, and feel loved. And it just does amazing things for relationships. And I think also that's what Jesus calls us to go. We look at his life, his ministry. He was constantly going to the people on the edge, the overlooked, the ones who life was beating down on. And I think that's also our calling as Christians to step into that place.
Yeah, I was just looking up the thesaurus, right? Because I'm having such difficulty pronouncing this word, hospitality. I was looking at alternatives, and interestingly enough, the word friendliness comes up as an alternative within the thesaurus. So friendliness, I mean, what we've been talking about really is a lot of just being friendly with people who are around you, who are in similar circumstances, similar social groups, social settings, just being friendly. And that is how we can be hospitable, by being friendly to those around us.
Yeah. Amen. I agree.
It's not complicated, is it really?
No. It's about just doing right by people as well, isn't it? It's seeing somebody who is lonely and just being a friend to them. That's the thing, isn't it? And it's just creating spaces where people feel safe, feel welcomed, and feel loved. And I guess it's giving them a taste then of this community that we're part of as being followers of Jesus. We're part of this community that's 2,000 years old, and it goes across the world, and actually it's defined by its love and its grace and its joy and its hope and its peace. And it's amazing to give people a taste of that, to hopefully then see through my generosity and my kindness and my care the person of Jesus in all that I do. That's the hope, isn't it, in all of this? And if they then have an encounter with Jesus through that, then praise God.
Yeah, that is ultimately the goal, that people can see God. They can see Jesus in the way that we act and behave, and by being hospitable or by being friendly in our areas around us, with our neighbors, ultimately with our neighbors around us, we are able to shine what Jesus is doing inside of us. And we're able to show that by simply being friendly, by being hospitable. And that could mean offering a cup of tea. That could mean people inviting people around for food. It could mean, if you're not up for that kind of thing, as you mentioned, there's loads of other things. If there's something you enjoy, like walking or running or cycling or outdoor activities, or more quiet things indoors, you can just be friendly and let someone join in with you. Encourage them to join you with that. And from that, what you've shared earlier in some of these stories is you can see huge amounts of growth from a small gathering of cheese and wine comes into an alpha course, which comes into more than one alpha group. And it's really cool to see how just a small act of being friendly to those around you can snowball in such a good way.
Yeah. And that's really the heart of all that Rural Missions does, is that we just want to help people take those small intentional steps to be able to love and share Jesus in their community. And for me, that is always going to be the priority. And I guess my other encouragement is around our welcome. If you are part of a church, make sure people feel welcome when they walk into your building as well, because I help lead a church here where I am, and we are often told you offer a great welcome. What a great welcome looks like is people welcome you, they introduce themselves, they get to know you about who you are. And so maybe there's one or a whole host of things people might take away that are listening, but how could you just take those small intentional steps? And if Rural Missions can help you to take some of those steps, then you know where we are. We're at ruralmissions.org.uk. Yeah,
I think that's a really beautiful place to end today's conversation. And as always, you want to find out more, ruralmissions.org.uk. I'm memorizing it too, which is great.
That's good.
Thank you for joining us, Bob Goody and Steffi Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Here at Pure 247 Radio, we've had the privilege of speaking to some amazing people with some amazing stories.
I was about 5k off the coast paddling, and I was watching this storm on the land, and it literally hit a mountain, and rather than just going over the top of it, just turned and just came straight at me. You can't stay on the board in that instance, so I literally am jumping off the back of the board. I've got everything tethered down on the board, and I'm just holding on to the back of the board.
As I walked in, there was a fight going on the floor. There was a police sergeant sailing over the desk to help with restraining somebody. And the doors were clanging shut, all the big metal gates, and there were alarms going off and radios. And I felt this most enormous peace come over me, because I realised that this is where God wanted me to spend my career, behind bars.
It was like a baptism of fire, and it was like the most socially deprived council wards in Britain. And then we were going into schools, and then kids were coming to the gigs, but then knocking on my door at night, and I was out there playing football till 11:30 p.m. at night, 12 o'clock, feeding kids, running youth clubs.
If you've missed an inspiring conversation and want to catch up, or you'd like to revisit a brilliant interview, you can. Our interviews are available on YouTube and podcast, so you can always catch up anytime you like. Search for Pure 247 Radio wherever you get your podcasts, or find our YouTube channel at Pure 247 Radio, or head over to www.pure247radio.org/catch up.